To our very first story this evening, the Bank of Ghana will sell a total of $200 million to bulk oil distribution companies in the first quarter of 2023 in a Forex forward auction. This is $220 million lower than the amount it sold to the BDCs in the first quarter of last year. But will the amount of dollars be enough to support the importation of oil? There is more in the following report.
The calendar showed that the Bank of Ghana will be auctioning $80 million in January this year, $60 million in February, and $60 million again in March this year, bringing the total amount to be auctioned around $200 million. This is a special program that the Bank of Ghana has in place when it comes to selling of dollars to bulk oil distribution companies to finance the importation of finished petroleum products into the country. This means that there will be another auction program to finance other critical imports. But looking at the current pressure on the Ghana city and demand picking up in the first 3 months of this year, many are surprised about the amount that the Bank of Ghana will be selling to these bulk oil distribution firms in the first quarter of this year, looking at the fact that it sold $400 million in the last quarter of 2022. However, sources say the reduction in the amount can be linked to the implementation of the Go for Oil program, which Joy Business understands some of the bulk oil companies are working to participate. According to these bulk importers, this dollar auction program by the Bank of Ghana had gone a long way to stabilize prices of petroleum products on the market over the last 2 months. They even maintained that the Bank of Ghana was able to meet about 80% of their request when it comes to dollars to finance the imports of petroleum products.
Meanwhile, energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Sulemana said that the $200 million Forex forward auction to bulk oil distribution companies is woefully inadequate. He is, however, upbeat about a government strategy to avert any unforeseen circumstances in the importation of crude oil. He spoke on the marketplace.
If you look at the quantum that we require to meet our consumption on a monthly basis, this figure is woefully inadequate. However, you cannot look at it in isolation. You have to look at it at the fact that, in the context of the fact that maybe there's some strategy in place behind the scenes. And I think your report just, mentioned one key strategy that is in the levy, which is this petroleum product to gold exchange with UAE. So looking at the amount, Darren, if you segregate the amount from this kind of gold to petroleum product deal, the amount is woefully inadequate. We need over $400 million on a monthly basis to import petroleum products. So to give $200 million within the first quarter, it will create a lot of gap. I mean, a huge gap. However, like I said, we cannot sound alarmed at this moment in time because we are told that I want to believe that because of the gold to oil deal or because of the petroleum product, to gold exchange that is being championed by Bank of Ghana and other allied agencies within the downstream sector, if that is able to cover the deficit that we have, then I think there shouldn't be any cause, for concern. And if you look at it, what actually caused the stability of, the prices at the pump is just because of the availability of the forex and nothing else. It has nothing to do with any other thing. So if at any point in time we don't have so much available, so much in the system with respect to this greenback, the dollar I'm talking about, then we're bound to have pressure. But it's early days yet. We have to wait. This month is a crucial month for the downstream. But this is the first time we have going to this kind of deal. If the deal do succeed, then I think there's no cause to worry that much.
Away from that, international research and market information firm Fitch Solutions is predicting a narrow current account deficit of 4% in relation to the size of the economy for Ghana in 2023. Now, this is a departure from the 4.4% recorded last year. This is also expected to impact positively on the value of the Ghana cedi. However, that will be subject to an improved fiscal position, including prudent spending and sustainable debt levels. The country has been recording a trade surplus since 2018, but capital flight as a result of high interest payments and sell-off of the country's bonds by foreign investors have triggered a weak current account position. Mark Kroniger is the senior country risk analyst at Fitch Solutions.
We project that the current account deficit, which is reflected by the line in light pink here, has widened notably in 2022 on the back of large primary income outflows caused by elevated interest payments on Ghana's external debt. But we expect a very slight improvement in 2023. Indeed, we forecast the current account deficit will reach 4% of GDP in 2023 from 4.4% in 2022. So what is the key reason behind this improvement? As I already mentioned, we forecast healthy production growth for Ghana's most prominent exports, gold, oil, and cocoa, which will prop up export growth next year. At the same time, we believe that import growth will be weak on the back of slowing domestic demand, given still elevated inflation and the prospects of higher taxes. This will put downside pressure on demand for imported consumer items and imported capital goods, and thus improve the overall trade balance.
Now, with Ghana's recent turbulent economic condition, Chief Executive Officer of the Magdan Group of Companies, Daniel Macaulay, has predicted that the collapse of many businesses is likely due to the country's current exchange rate. According to him, Ghana's current economic situation will force many businesses to fold up.
We come from an environment where we all see problems. And I believe that you need a little bit of tenacity to look elsewhere differently from the same way of doing things. It's been tough. But it doesn't mean we should all sit back and look at the troubles. I always say that in times of adversity, we have to find solutions to problems. It doesn't mean I am doing well, but maybe I'm looking at things differently. I am not looking at the troubles. A lot of businesses are collapsing, I can tell you, and you have not seen anything yet. More businesses are going to collapse, looking at exchange rate somewhere about 44%. So we should brace ourselves for tougher times coming. So for me, it's been tough though, but I look beyond the ordinary to look at other areas where there are opportunities and where it's not easy terrain, but we have to be there.
Now, Ghanaians will experience better days again. That's an assurance from President Akufo-Addo following major economic challenges the country faced last year. The president admitted that expectations were not met and his government is working to change the situation this year. Here is more from the Fair Sky Group's 20th anniversary and Thanksgiving organized here in Accra.
In a speech read on his behalf by the Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwasi Atta, President Akufo-Addo expressed confidence as his government resolved to seek support from the International Monetary Fund. According to him, this is expected to put the economy back on track.
I do recognize that things have not been as we expected as far as the nation's economy is concerned. But I can assure all of you that my government is still committed to working hard, turning around the fortunes of the nation. I am of the strongest conviction that we will turn the corner. There is indeed light at the end of the tunnel, and Ghanaians will surely experience better days again.
President Akufo-Addo also reaffirmed government's commitment to providing enabling environment for private sector growth.
Despite the building of a strong and healthy economy that will stand the global economic and social pressure of our time, remains my first resolution to create a very good and sustainable enabling environment for private sector actors such as Fair Sky Group, whose contributions undoubtedly result in the economic development of our nation.
The First Sky Group 20th anniversary and Thanksgiving was themed, "The Lord has done great things for us and we are glad." Speaking at the event, founder and executive chairman of the group, Eric Sedi Kutoche, pledged his outfit's continuous commitment to providing free dialysis to patients. He is optimistic a kidney transplant center, currently under construction in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, will be fully operational by end of the year.
And this is our hope, that by the end of this year, the Kidney Transplant Center will be fully operational to cater for the patients, not only in Ghana, but entire West Africa sub-region. As this will be the first of its kind in the sub-region. So far, First Sky Group has spent 26 million Ghana cedis, giving free dialysis to over 300 patients over the past 5 years in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Meanwhile, special guest of honor and Vice President of Liberia, Joel Taylor, urged business leaders to emulate the First Sky Group by contributing to socio-economic development.
As we live, as we breathe, as we have our being, it's the testimonies. The Bible says, by their fruits you shall know them. You know the fruits of First Sky. You see it, the evidence, in places where people don't even want to go. Are there many more who could do more? Yes. There are many, many, many rich people across Ghana. Most of them don't care. We are in the last days, and you'll be held accountable for the resources that God has given to you. What have you done with it?
I tore that 3x5 card up. I said, come on.
The First Sky Group 20th anniversary and Thanksgiving featured a sermon delivered by the General Superintendent of the Assemblies of God USA, Reverend Doug Clay. Also present were some renowned members of the clergy, as well as government representatives, including ministers.
Now, in a related development, business owners within the private sector as well as government officials are being urged to support the health sector as part of their corporate social responsibility, according to Chief Executive Dr. Opokuwari Ampoma. This is critical in reducing the number of lives which are lost due to inadequate support by patients in need of healthcare. Taking a stand at the 20th anniversary and Thanksgiving ceremony of the First Sky Group, Dr. Ampoma made a case for a legislation to be passed in Parliament to enhance kidney donation in the country.
Maybe you can support one patient, somebody can support 5 patients, somebody can support, so whatever you can do, just make sure you do it. Sometimes we let what we cannot do interfere with what we can do. So let's all focus and see what little good we can do in various areas, or not just in Kolebu, but in any place that we find ourselves around the country. If we are all doing our little quota, we can make this country a better place. And what is better than people looking at you and saying that I'm alive because of what you did? And I believe that these are the things that touches God's heart. In fact, if you look at God's criteria for judging who was good, he said, I was sick and you did not visit me. So the sick are people who are really, really dear to God's heart. So let's all do a little bit. And Majority Leader, we also like to encourage you to make sure that we pass enabling legislation, because at the moment our transplant services are limited, because now we can only take transplant of donor kidneys from living related donors. But then when the enabling legislation is passed, we can have the situation where people can opt to have their kidneys donated, so that when they are, when they pass on, their kidneys can be harvested and used to provide life-saving surgery for those who are on chronic dialysis, because chronic dialysis is not sustainable. Usually you have to have a program of transplantation so that you can wean people off the dialysis, so they don't have to be on the machine all the time. So over to you, sir.
Still to come, now, how do you plan your finances in an austere economy? We'll hear from an expert as we inch past 9 days of the year 2023.
Financial planning essentially is a process where you create a roadmap to utilize your financial resources effectively to achieve set goals.
We are just 9 days into the new year, and we know it is going to be a tight one as the government is still working to revive the ailing economy. So how do you work out your personal finances this year? Associate Director of Accounting Advisory Services at KPMG, Schandorf, was engaged earlier on the marketplace.
So financial planning essentially is a process where you create a roadmap to utilize your financial resources effectively to achieve set goals. So in summary, that is financial planning. You know, in Ghana, especially in Accra, there is a common saying that Accra stay by plan. You know, so, and when people do make that statement, typically a lot of people have moved from different parts of Ghana to Accra. So they know that if they don't manage their affairs well, there is no mother or father to maybe bail you out. Okay, so in austerity, it becomes more critical for you to plan your finances very well, because if you don't do that, you may be caught by some sort of surprises, right? Those who intentionally determine what they want to do in times like this, because we are not in normal times, are able to navigate this period better than those who don't plan at all. You know, Benjamin Franklin said that if you don't plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
All right. So whether you like it or not, or if you decide not to do anything, there is something there's a plan. All right. But if you carefully sit down and say, what are the things that I want to achieve financially? What steps must I take to get there? Yes, you may not be able to estimate and anticipate everything, but you are better placed to navigate these difficult times than those who just leave things to chance. The government is doing it. They are taking a number of steps to also navigate or things better this time. So we as individuals or as corporate also need to take a similar steps so that you can better navigate these times well.
Yeah, and you make a point about us being in unpredictable times. Consider last year, nobody foresaw the Russia-Ukraine war and its impact. I mean, they were all taken by surprise. We don't know what to expect this year. We know there's an IMF deal in the waiting, but what happens after that we don't really know what's going to happen. And so it's important that we plan. So what are the components of financial planning?
Okay, all right. So there are a series of things when it comes to financial planning, right? So the first critical component that I see is your goal, which will define what you want to achieve, right? If you don't know where you are headed, when even you achieve it, you may not realize whether you have achieved it or not, or we can't even measure whether you've actually achieved that goal or not. So for me, the key thing is, one of the key components is your goal. Where do you want to be financially? Then we look at things like cash flow forecasting or planning. All right, that is essentially you looking at the way your money moves. You receive something, you pay out. So your inflows and your outflows. All right, it's something that in any financial plan will also come to play. All right, you are watching how you are receiving your money, how it is going out. Then you have also things like how you also manage your affairs to even deal with your taxes. All right, you know, in times like this, one of the strategies that government is using at this point in time is to raise more revenue, and we know typically that is through taxes and other measures. So you as an individual or as corporate also need to see how you plan your affairs to maybe say make some tax savings. You cannot avoid taxes or you cannot evade taxes, but you can plan your affairs to make some savings there. You also need to look at your liquidity, okay, how you manage that, because expenses and the rest will be thrown at you. We are in January now. Parents know that schools are coming to reopen. So you need to anticipate all the sort of burden or expenditures that you will come your way, okay? And then you define yourself such that you are able to address those things as and when they fall you. So financial planning can have several components. I've spoken about the goal, I've spoken about the cash flow planning, we are looking at tax planning. There are several things that can come in into the point of retirement planning, your estate planning, if you are educating yourself, education planning. So it can have several components or several activities, but maybe let's keep ourselves with this 3 for now. Okay.
Well, I know that at the beginning of the year, many people have goals, and I think it's also important that you set realistic goals depending on your cash flow, so that you are not caught in a hard place. So, and I believe that the next important thing to do is to have a financial plan. And so, what are some of the steps to consider in drawing a financial plan?
All right, thank you, Darrell. So, in drawing a financial plan, the first point is to know where you are. Okay, you need to understand where you are now, whether you are an individual or a business. What is your current standing? Once you are clear about that, then now you define for yourself what you want to achieve, which brings us to the goals. And it's important. I mean, you outline that your goals must be specific. Typically, we say you need to set smarter goals. Yeah. So your goals must be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay, so know where you are, then define your goals. Then now you come to your cash flow planning, which a lot of people will say budget. All right, so that is essentially you forecasting. Right. So you are looking at what sort of money am I expecting to come to me? How do I plan to utilize this money? Obviously, you are doing all that in the context of your goal. And that is what sometimes usually people miss. So people may even budget, but they may not budget with a goal in mind.
Very useful nuggets there. Now, away from that, Ghana's overdependence on imported poultry products will see significant reduction in the coming months. Now, that's because of the completion of a modern poultry facility by Bunta Farms in the eastern region with the capacity to produce about 4.2 million birds annually. This is expected to cushion the local currency, which has been under some pressure due to demand from importers. Here is founder of Bunta Farms, Kwasi Jan.
Plan is that once this facility is completed, egg imports, because the reason some of the companies bring the import is that our locally produced eggs are not clean, all kinds of. Now you have first-class European technology, so you wouldn't have a reason to have any issues with the quality of the eggs that will be produced here. And when we get to the broiler side, our plan is to produce at the start 4.2 million broilers a year and upgrade to $8.4 million in about 3 years. 8.4 million broilers. I believe the national import is about 30 million birds a year. So if we can do 8.4 million in the next 3 years, it means we have almost done 1/3 of the imports. Is that not the case? So it will make a serious impact on the protein levels of the country. And particularly now that you are suffering with currency issues and the dollar issues. What we are trying to do is to also set up a hatchery, because at the beginning we are going to bring in the day-olds from Holland, but we'll set up our own hatchery, we'll bring our own parent stock, set up a local hatchery so that we don't bring in the day-olds. We'll try to reduce the foreign exchange component of our operations to make our prices competitive.
There's a wrap on the news. For more, log on to www.myjoyonline.com. My name is Schandorf. Bye-bye.